While we have already traveled to Belgium once this season, there's no reason we can't return, because Spa isn't the only Formula One track in this country. Nestled up against the Albert Canal, Circuit Zolder plays host to the Belgian Grand Prix a number of times. The track was sadly tainted by the tragic death of Gilles Villeneuve in the 1980s, but race fans willing to look past its darker moments find a challenging circuit in its own right. We'll find if any of today's drivers can handle its tricky chicanes and surprising elevation changes as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean Zolder tends to play second fiddle to Spa, but why don't you tell us what makes this track just as important to the Belgian racing scene?
Well, Joe, Circuit Zolder was built in 1963, and it hosted the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix off and on until about 1984. Now, over the years, numerous safety improvements and renovations have taken place here, and they've transformed this circuit into the track we have today. Now, you know the Champ Car World Series is even visited here at one point when old Seabass, Sebastian Bourdais, set the all-time track record of about 1 minute and 14 seconds. Now, we'll be going a little bit slower today, not much, but this 10-turn, 4-kilometer layout will feature quite a few challenges all the way around. Several chicanes will help spread out this field, but with the long straights, the draft will still play an important role. With that said, many of these chicanes feature high curbs that could damage this Lotus 49, so you'll want to stay off of them and keep the car aerodynamically pristine. But as always, the best way to get an idea of what this place is really like is to hop on board. Okay, well, we're not going to hop on board the GSRC Lotus 49 this week. Trust me when I tell you, you're in for a doozy today, because, boy, I had a blast taking this car around the circuit last night in practice, Joe.
I have no doubt about that. Although some drivers aren't as big of a fan, me being one of them, but some really do enjoy it. As we see, we've got 17 drivers here today, and that is a pretty good turnout for what is considered a small series when it's up against the Daytona 24 at the exact same time. And our apologies, but we will get you at least an onboard as our drivers get their qualifying laps in, so you can experience what it's like on a hot lap around here. Also, apologies, you probably have noticed by now I sound a little bit stuffed up. Like a lot of people at this time of year, I'm getting over being sick. But the show must go on, so I am here on the mic with you this morning, as well as getting driver duties with my team for the 24th today. It's going to be a long day for a few of us, especially for Sean, who's even our crew chief over there. But Sean, enough about Daytona. We're talking about Zolder as we hop up on the blimp now here over qualifying. It's known for this, as Bill likes to call it, kind of having a chicanes R Us sale going on.
There's really only two of them, Joe. I mean, the Klein.
Two of them? Well, there's three last time I counted.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, there are three. But it really is, it's about the three chicanes and the one hairpin. Now, if you dare to say Turn 8's name, we'll just leave it at Boulderberg right now. If you dare to get through that hairpin safely, you've got that one last chicane to worry about, the Jackie Ickx chicane there at 10. It sets up the run to the start-finish line, which is about, almost halfway down the straight, really about 2/3 down the straight before you hit the braking into Erst. But, Joe, the chicanes here do provide a bit of trouble. You've really got to get the car slowed down to get it to turn in, and you've got to avoid those sausage bombs on the top of the curbs in and out of those chicanes, because they are deadly to this machine.
Yes, they are not machines that are made for these quick back and forth corners that the chicanes provide. Most of the tracks really didn't have them back in the day, Monaco being, of course, an exception back in the 1967 season. So we watched Mick Claridge zoom around for his lap. Just about 5 minutes left to go. Now, looking at some of the danger zones, one of the things that I always found tricky, at least in this car, Sean, was that the crests in most cars around this track, most modern cars, pretty easy. And this car, boy, it gets light.
Oh, boy, it sure does. Butte, turn 6, getting through there, up the hill. Do you shift before? You shift at the top of the hill or after on the other side? Either way, you're going to get very, very light through there. And, boy, real easy to get the car upset. The trip down to turn 8, down to the hairpin there in Boulderberg. You got to be very, very careful getting through there. And that left-hander that sweeps through there. And then you've got to get under braking real quick to hit that hairpin just right, Joe. And those present the significant problems there as far as the car leaving the track.
As the times come out on the screen, let's go to the points championship, of course. The driver's points. Mick Claridge up at the top. He's won 4 times, but he finally missed out on the last race as Michel Dudignan beat him to it, which you can see moves him way up the order into 3rd, but still a long ways out from Mick Claridge, having missed a bunch of races. Ove Tragrade stays in 4th, but Joni Kajanen slips down the order a couple spots into a tie for that 4th position with Ove. So let's go to the Constructors' Championship. And Sean, what are we looking at for what is really actually, I guess we could say, the Nations Championship?
Well, thanks to Mick Claridge, the UK still stands strong at the top in first. The US lurking there, just 5 points behind. That could change today as we have a couple of Americans here in the race, and we'll see how they can do. And Finland, just a short 11 points back. They can certainly make that up. Italy in 4th, 22 points back. And we've got one Italian here today, Enzo Canta, in the field. And France, surprisingly, in 5th. But you know what? Good things to come for them. Michel Dudignan is here and right now sits on the provisional pole, Joe.
Looks like most drivers have completed their second lap at this point from what I'm seeing. Michel Dudignan tops the timing sheets and about by 0.3 over McClaren, which is a bit impressive. Usually they are very close on times. Enzo Canta a long ways back, over a half a second behind our front row. So I'm thinking it's going to look like a pretty typical Lotus 49 race in this series, Sean, in which those two are going to be streaking away from the field.
Yeah, it looks like more of the same possibly, but Dugnan and Claridge both here makes this very interesting. Now, don't give up on Canta. Spent a lot of time in practice this morning, Joe, and looks like he's got a feel for this track. And I know right now looks to be just about a half second off from Claridge and Dugnan, but I expect to see something from him in this race.
I kind of do too. I tried to light the fire under him last round, as we've done before in this season. I'm curious to see if he's going to pick it up a little bit. David Monahan coming in 13th on the timing sheets. We've got a few drivers that have not managed to put a time in yet. Philip Clark, Don Good, and Don looks like he's not going to get a lap in as he comes to a halt. Philip Spencer and Ove Trangrade, all of which are not on track. So those four will indeed start from the back of the field.
Yeah,
David Alexander in 12th. Go ahead, Sean.
This can be a bit of an easy one to pick up those incidents, Joe, and getting just a wheel off or a couple wheels off. Easy to pick up here in the chicanes. So I'm not surprised to see guys giving up on their laps right now.
Well, it's not just the off tracks that they have to worry about, which, by the way, this is official iRacing, so that means that they do have to worry about the incident limit at 17 of them. But the cut course penalties, they're a killer here.
Yeah, they are. And boy, if you find yourself having to get out of the pit lane, if for any reason you should find yourself having to go down there today, getting out of the pit lane, the pit exit is very, very tricky here. You've got to really keep it tucked to the inside so you don't incur a penalty and have to go right back into the box. So those are definitely things to watch for today.
All right, qualifying has completed, so let's go through our starting grid. Michel Dugnan on the pole, followed by Mick Claridge in second, and then row 2, it's going to be Enzo Canta with 4th belonging to Rupe Turkala. Benjamin Zocco will be starting in 5th. He's actually one of my teammates today out in the 24, so not going to be cheering him on as much out here as we have to stay impartial, but he'll be starting within the top 5. Neil Kemp will be started in 6th, and then row 4 begins with Billy Bob Wright in 7th and Roy Cunningham starting in 8th. Hideki Koivisto starts the race in 9th, and then P10 rounds out with Richard Morin. Sean?
All right, row 6 going to be Randy Huff and David Alexander. Row 7, David Monahan and Ove Trengrade. Row 8, Philip Spencer, Don, Tell Me Something Good. And boy, in 17th starting today, Philip Clark. And we've seen his name before, and if we have, I can't remember right now, Joe.
I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see how he fares as they start to grid up now. It is certainly going to provide a challenge for the 17 drivers today. Try and get through this race, not only in one piece, but without cutting the course too many times. And of course, they want to try and get home to that checkered flag first. We'll see if Michel Dugnan can repeat, or we'll see if Mick Claridge can turn things around, or will those two tangle, and can Enzo Canta finally get his first win on broadcast in this series? He has been fast. Although we have seen him challenge for the wins, we haven't seen him take home the checkered flag quite yet. You can see there's just a couple gaps still waiting, as we've got Rupe Turkala that we're waiting to come out on track, as well as Ove Trangrade, Philip Clark, David Alexander, David Monahan, Michel Dugnan still waiting to show up on the grid. There's Michel, the Frenchman, showing up in his P1 stall with a flagman waiting patiently there on the left. A lot of trees still around this circuit. One of the things that I love is the scenery around it.
Yeah, really, really pretty circuit, especially that trip up down into 7, the chicane there, and down to the hairpin there in 8.
Boy, this camera angle gives you a good idea of the elevation change on this track. It is a steep downhill from the start into the first turn of Erst. So, as the lights are up, engines are revving, green flag is out. It was quite a long wait for that to come. And pretty much dead even off the start, although Mick Claridge a little bit faster in the second phase. Well, he's challenged down into Erst on the inside by Enzo Canton, but he can't get the grip off the quarter, and he starts to lose third to the car of Rupe Turkala. As they come around the second quarter, then through three, up into Bianchi. Third goes to Rupe Turkala, but it looks like it was clean to me for everybody else, Sean.
Impressive start. Yeah, indeed, Joe. At the back, a couple of cars tangling. And in fact, we got one spin in there. Don Good, trouble out of, what was that, out of turn 4.
Bianchi, yeah. It was Alexander, David Alexander, who he tangled with, but we'll come back to that later as they now get through the Kleine chicane. And I didn't see anybody else tangle through there. Relatively quick lap as they're already halfway done with the first lap here, Sean.
And Roy Cunningham's just slided all over the place right in front of Ben Zocco. Zocco had taken the spot away from him. Cunningham fought back and took it back. The number 10 on the move here.
See how that's clogged up the cars behind them as they come down to the Boulder Burgharspeld. Oof, all of them stacking up into there, but it looks like Cunningham manages to hold them off 4-6 for now. He is way far behind Neil Kemp, who rounds out our top 5 all close together. In fact, we got a battle for third as Rupe Turkala loses out. Battle for second. That's Mick Claridge that he's fighting with.
Mick fighting here early in this race. 20 laps doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, it is here.
He has dropped off significantly from Michel Dudignon for that first place. He might have had a cut course or a mistake into one of the chicanes along the way. We'll have to go back to investigate a little bit later, but right now the fight is on for P2 between Mick Claridge and Rupe Turkala. Into the Kleine of the chicane they come once again. This time nice and tidy for Mick Claridge, fending off Rupe. Behind them, Enzo Canta keeping watch. He started in third, but has lost out. I'm sure he's going to be hungry to get back into that podium position.
Philip Spencer gets turned around, going to the Kleine chicane. Made contact with Philip Clark. It's the battle of the two Phils going into the chicane there, Joe.
Well, Phil's got to dig himself out of that hole, unfortunately, now that he's got himself turned around and going once again. As we come back live, he is number 6 in this race, so he's got a pretty decent I rating as we check out Mick Claridge in the number 4. Surprisingly, you would expect him to have a much higher number. But he is finally really solidly fended off Rupe Turkala. Got himself a gap, and he's only a second behind Michel Dudignon. I think he's regained his legs underneath him.
Yeah, it looks like Mick has come back to form here. Dudignon better get going here because Mick had the fastest lap last time by, and if he starts feeling it, that could mean trouble for Michel.
Norwegian fans, remember we mentioned Ove Trangerade did not get a qualifying time, and well, even though he started this race in 15th, he's already up to 10th, and he's trying to hound Hideki Koivisto for 9th position. He's gotten past Richard Morin in recent times.
Yet Koivisto and Cunningham.
Well, whoa! Michel Dudignon down into 3rd. Did he cut the course? I think he did. In the Kleine chicane. Just a little too hot. You're going to see, there he goes, over the curbs. Way over the curbs. He could have hurt the underside of that car. A little bit of a spin back there, but I didn't see which car that was, unfortunately. Well, this puts Michel back into 3rd place. Mick Claridge finds himself up into 1st. Possible redemption, but we've seen this story before. Remember what happened at VIR last week, Sean, with Michel going off?
Yeah, nothing nothing is certain, right, Joe?
Mick himself could make a mistake here, hand it right back. Could hand it back to Rupe Turkala because Michel's got to get past him as well, the International Club driver. Excuse me, Finland.
Yeah, and Mick's got to maybe be smiling just a bit because Turkula, Dudignon, that could take a while to settle that battle and just allow Mick to run off into the sunset here.
I don't know if Mick has a chance to relax and smile too much because he could so easily fall victim to what Michelle did and cut the course, give that all right back.
Yeah, I just saw David Alexander had a problem at the back of the field. It's caused him to take a toe to the pit, Joe. Looks like he had trouble coming out of the final chicane there at Jackie Ickx.
In fact, he had more than one problem in that chicane. He had trouble coming in and then trouble coming out. Like you said, that has more or less ended his day. We've got all the cars still out on track, including this battle for ninth. That's Hideki Koivisto and Ove Trengray. Trengray looks to the inside down into Vogler Berghaar-Speld. Can he get it done? And he does. Beautiful textbook maneuver to get Ove into ninth.
Joe, the brave one this morning, going for Boulder Berghaar-Speld first before me. See, I didn't stumble. I got through that, Joe.
Yeah, it's a tough name. If you want to do it in I guess it's Dutch. They have bocht at the end of it, which just means turn. As a silly American, I just take that one off.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten a lot better with my Portuguese than I have with my Dutch, that's for sure.
Enzo Canta has been overtaken by Neil Kemp. Boy, this doesn't seem to be his track today. He's been slipping backwards, Sean.
And how about Neil Kemp coming forward? Honestly, Joe, and a bit of a mistake there from Neil. Canta going to take advantage of it. He got to slow down. Kemp got to slow down there. Cut that chicane off just a bit, Joe.
I made a note in our script that I really think the winner of this race is going to be the person with the fewest slowdown penalties.
Yeah, you could be right about that. Indeed.
Meanwhile, Dudignon on the back of Turkula as they come through Boulder Berghaar-Speld. The lone hairpin on this track, weaving back and forth. And then coming up to Ickx. Getting very close to the gearbox of the Finn. But the Frenchman keeps it out of him. So we ride on board with Rupe Turkula. Now we're on to Michel, looking over his shoulder down in Erst. Can't make much ground. I was, as hard as those chicanes are, Sean, I found that first corner in every car is just as hard for me.
Yeah, no, granted it is. It's really, really tough getting through there. It's finding the breaking point and then, figuring out how to continue to carry the speed without running off to the right there.
Yeah, downhill it really wants to come through as we watch this fight for second continue. As a battle for eighth is going to go side by side. A bobble coming out of Bianchi for Roy Cunningham. This gives an opportunity to Ove Trengray on a steady climb forward. He's on the outside. He gets his wheels into the grass. Can he hold on to it? No, he cuts the course to try and save the car. Instead of gaining one, he loses out to Koivisto. Let's look at the replay.
Wow, just cooks him. Just hashtag send it, man. He cooks him going down into the chicane here.
It looks like just dip those right sides into the grass, and that was all she wrote.
Not an asphalt to get that car slowed down in time.
Well, he's lost a lot of ground that he gained earlier on. He's got to redo the work to get past Koivisto, although Koivisto followed him up to the back of Cunningham, so once he gets past Koivisto, shouldn't be very far to try and go back at it, what he was trying to get with that pass initially. Already putting the pressure on there for the Finn of Koivisto.
Yep.
Oh! Clever move, carrying the speed around the outside of Erst. And he's got it. Beautiful stuff from Ove Trengray.
Ove conducting his own little symphony this morning here in Belgium.
And he's going to... I thought he was going to repeat what he did before, which was carry the speed coming off of Bianchi. It is not to be.
Joe, it's happening up front. It's Dugnan following Turkula and Mick Claridge continuing to lay down fast lap after fast lap.
Insert your own GIF for this battle as we watch our leader Mick Claridge just look in his mirrors every once in a while and smile, as you said, as Rupe Turkula and Michel Dugnan are costing each other time trying to fight for P2. Go ahead.
I was going to say Mick already getting by a back marker here. David Monahan moving out of the way, letting Mick get through Erst. Here come Turkula and Dugnan. Monahan going to stay out of the way, all the way off to the left. Good job, David.
Remember, out of 5 rounds completed, we're on round 6 right now, Mick Claridge has won 4 of those 5. He's looking to make it 5 out of 6 today. The only driver to beat him this season is Michel Dugnan.
Man, Ove trying to take this move on the outside. Got position on the inside now. Cunningham almost gets into him there.
Oh, and Michel with another mistake. Ooh, was this a mistake or was this an incident?
That was contact, Joe. That was contact.
Sent it up the inside here, down into Kleina. And we couldn't see it from this angle, but yeah, he got banged into.
Yeah, we'll see it this time from above. It's on the other side of the car where the trouble happens. The Turkle are going to get right up next to him here, going through the chicane. It does not work out well.
And to Michel's credit, he was fully alongside him, easily by the apex. Rupe just kind of steered in.
Maybe didn't know he was there, didn't hear the spotter. I don't know, man. Just really turned in there.
I kind of chalk that one up to it being a very tight chicane, and there's only so much room that you can give because he didn't want to cut the course on the second part of it. So, just it's a good passing zone, but Sean, it doesn't always end in smiles for everybody.
It doesn't. And now look at the lead for Mick Claridge, 4.5 seconds. Joe climbing to 5.
And again, this is not written in stone, even though he's halfway through the race already as that nose dips down and he tries to get the car woed up nice and cleanly through up and over the crest and then through Butte. This is always a tough one, breaking down into Turleman, the curved braking zone. Then back and forth and back and forth through the banking of turn 8 and then over the crest again. Down into Boulder Berghaarspeld, our leader, has been nice and tidy so far.
Ove Trengrade has managed to finally get a little separation from Roy Cunningham. Those two had been locked up for quite a while. I say that, and now Ove kind of sliding it and drifting it there through the chicane, giving up a little bit of time. The fastest. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, taking a few cues from the wild man behind him.
Yeah.
At number 10 there we're watching going through Boulder Berghaarspeld, trying to give chase, but just no match for the Norwegian, who is on a mission today. Oh, he's on a mission, but he's on a bit of a sloppy one, as he had a huge slide coming through Ix and somehow did not lose the spot to Roy as he kept it going.
Yeah, and even getting the power down into Ix was suspect at best. You saw the car wiggling all over the place. Ove has got those tires a little bit angry right now. Needs a little bit of a cool off here, maybe for about a half a lap.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like a lot of people don't really catch with this car. They think they're just rock hard tires from the 60s, but you can overheat these things.
Yeah, and Ove's done exactly that. He is struggling up there just a bit to hang on to it. Cunningham able to reel him in now. But Cunningham is right there.
He took a lot of curve, though. I think that cost him as he had to try and collect it together. Does it do a lot of damage to the underside of the car if you get too greedy on these curbs?
If you get too greedy, if you center shot them, yeah, you're looking at maybe some suspension damage at left or right side, maybe not as much. But yeah, getting right over them, not good. Not good.
Down to the Boulder Burghardt spelled. Cunningham giving chase, but can't quite get it steered into the apex. That's going to cost him some of the time that he was gaining. So he slips back to over a second behind Traingrade. Everybody really separating themselves out here at the halfway point, so why don't we run down your order and get you up to speed with where the grid sits. Mick Claridge is our leader. Hasn't been leading since the drop of the green, though, as that was Dudignon who was up there before, but Rupe Turkala is the one behind him, having fended off Michel, not without some controversy and some contact there in the battle for second earlier. Michel Dudignon sits in third, and now he's slipping farther south because he must have had a cut course just now. In fact, yes, he did, through the Kleine Chicane. Boy, he does not like that part of the track. That's where every single one of his problems have been. That moves Enzo Canta into third then. So we've switched around a little bit there. Dudignon into fourth, of course. Canta with a nice race here, having kept it clean and got himself back up into the podium where he started. Let's jump Michel, since we've covered him, down to fifth. That'll be Neil Kemp in a top five. We were giving him praise, and so far, Neil, we haven't really seen mistakes from him, but we haven't really had a chance to show a lot of him on screen. Here's that number 7, trying to give his fans a good result. Benjamin Zoko running in 6th today. This could be a good result for him, getting a nice little haul of points for the Australian.
And Joe, thing to note about Ben Zoko, the car is clean. That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Billy Bob Wright is behind him. Not the best results we've seen for Billy Bob, but a decent result, and it will be a points-paying position for him. He's just got to keep his pace steady, because behind him, Ove Traingrade. Remember, we said he qualified out of position because he didn't have a lap time. Well, he's gotten himself up into 8th, and mistakes have kept him from chasing down Billy Bob. The good news for Ove, he is in the final points-paid spot. Just outside of him is Roy Cunningham. We've heard him say that he's been aiming for points. He's gotten a few. Today he's got to hustle to try and get himself back up into them. And then rounding out the top 10, Sean, it's Hideki Koivisto, the Finn, having had a few battles today, but at least going to bring himself home with that nice round 10 number.
And he's got an outside chance of maybe getting into a points-paying position here. It's not over yet. Still about 8.5 laps to go. He has definitely got a shot outside of him and into 11th. You got Philip Spencer. Oh, Dudignon here. What's going on? Past Canta here.
A nice job down into the Ich Chicane, as he got a good run out of Boulder Burghardt. Oh, wow. Enzo tries to come back at him into Erst, but he's a little too hot into there and has to take to the outside to avoid running into the Frenchman. And now he's wide once again. Not sure what's going on with Enzo. Has he got a bit of damage, maybe?
Well, I'm checking that now here. Let's see.
Huh. Odd days.
Don't see any damage on the car physically. Of course, that under tray could be hurting just a bit, Joe.
Thankfully not as crucial to these cars, especially on this track where drafting and aerodynamics aren't too important. Still, Enzo has watched that podium position slip through his fingers. He works his way through Turleman now. And with that, that means Claridge leads, Turkala second, Dudignon back into third, Canta fourth, Kemp rounds out our top 5.
And it looks like Turkala's pace has maybe improved just a bit, Joe, because Claridge not getting away at such a rapid pace anymore. It is about 6.5 seconds, but again, not as rapid a pace as he was there a few laps ago. So maybe things starting to even out here just a bit, and maybe all it takes for Turkala is a mistake from Claridge here.
That is a possibility. We've seen quite a lot happen already this race. Running the same schedule as the Skip Barbers, and they're actually running a dual championship where they combine the points of each to see who is the best at both. That is to try and encourage some of the Lotus 49 guys to come over to the Skippies and the Skippy guys to come over to the Lotus 49. So far, Sean, I've actually seen a little bit of an increase in participation this season over in the 49. So I'd say that's a success for them.
You know what? I'm going to say, look at today's numbers. We're going right up against the Rolex 24 here on iRacing. We still managed to get 17 drivers into this split, Joe. And I'd say that is proof positive that this has caused a little bit of an infusion of some drivers that we haven't seen before and bringing the numbers up just a bit.
Yeah, and we should clarify, it's not just going up against the 24, the start of the 24. So that takes a lot because a lot of drivers are over there focused right now, either watching or getting ready to help their team by being the first on the stint. But I guess with the passion that most of these drivers have for this retro machinery, most of their teams are respected that they want to get out for the broadcast race and help support this series.
I said it once, I'll say it again. You have time for both.
Meanwhile, sad news for fans of David Monahan. He is our next retirement as he is pulled into the pits and called it a day. Last car out on track is Randy Ho. He sits in 14th. Only 3 retirements: David Monahan, Philip Clark, and David Alexander. With that, I'm looking through, and everybody on my track map is very, very spread out. From here, Sean, it seems like it's less about racing each other, but more about racing the track and yourself.
Yeah, these last little over 5 laps is going to be extreme focus here to the umpteenth degree, just trying to finish this race and survive Circuit Soldier. I want to tip the hat to Neil Kemp, man. He sits there in 5th. He's up a spot. He's had a very solid drive here. No trouble out of that machine today. I don't want to jinx him. He is running the number 7, so maybe that's got a little bit of good luck on his shoulder. But Neil, the Californian, up very early to run this race, obviously, and seems to be on point.
Certainly is so far. Not trying to put the commentator's curse on him. And you mentioned something that I think is worth bringing up with this car, too. So many drivers, when they first get into this car, it's I don't want to say it's super difficult to drive, but it is a challenge. It takes an adjustment. A lot of them have mentioned that their first goal is not to get a good result, but simply to just worry about getting to the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, baby steps, right, Joe? You want to accomplish things in a certain order. I think with this car, you just said it best right there. Finish the race, and then once you finish the race, then try and finish the race clean, without any incidents, without any scrapes on the car, and then maybe work towards fighting for positions. But you got to take this car in stages when you're new to it. And right now, it seems like someone like Neil Kemp getting a little bit better every time he gets in that car.
Yeah, impressive to see. Also, our apologies if our frame rate isn't looking super clean, as Ove Tragrade wasn't very clean there through Turleman. Took a big slide. We switch up to McClarridge. We're trying to deal with a couple technical issues, but hopefully we can get those sorted out before the checkered flag. Claridge going to make it 5 out of 6 potentially. Nothing is set in stone, but the Brit has a 4-second lead over Rupe Turkala. A mistake could still hand it over to the Finn, who could get his first win on air in this series.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Joe. Finish.
Sorry, I kind of just had a second thought. I had to cut you off there. But and Rupe, this would have to be extremely special because he's mentioned on air before that he's been around in this car since the Grand Prix Legends days, the old game, not the series here on iRacing, what this car first brought about with these developers back when they were Papyrus.
This is one of the original machines for sim racing in general. I mean, this is it, man. The Lotus were really where it all started. But what I was going to say about Turkala, just a few minutes ago, we were talking about 6.5 seconds, and now we're talking about less than 4.5 seconds. He has closed this up just a bit. Now there's only 3 laps left this time by, but Turkla is certainly getting it done here over these last several laps.
I wonder if some of that is Mick just kind of managing his pace to the end of the race, if he's thinking more about just making sure he hits his marks into these chicanes and not get a cut course. He can give away a few tenths a lap, but it's a lot better to do that than to give away whole seconds by cutting the course, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. But this has been a solid race, Joe. I'm impressed. Again, you go back to the fact that we had good numbers to get this race started. We had a clean opening lap. Yeah, there's been some attrition, but easy to get caught out on this circuit here if you're not entirely familiar with it. It presents a lot of challenges like we've talked about. 3 chicanes in one track is enough to get anybody out of sorts. So you would think back to Imola, another good example of a circuit with multiple chicanes like that.
Watching the battle here between Spencer and Koivisto. This is for a top 10. Keeping half an eye, let's stay on this, but keeping half an eye on Ove Traingrade and Billy Bob Wright, because that is getting closer. And speaking of getting closer, getting under the gearbox, Philip Spencer eager as they come in to Bianchi, but Koivisto fends him off for now. Closing in as they accordion together into the Kleine chicane. Both drivers nice and tidy. A little bit better exit, I think, for Philip Spencer. Can't do anything over the crest and into Butte.
You're going back to that battle between Billy Bob and Ove. Billy Bob's done a really good job to hold station here. Ove obviously has done a great job to come from the back of the field to get himself here in this spot. Boy, it's come down to the last couple laps here. Ove Traingrade looking at picking up one more.
And we just missed it, but Spencer got the spot at a Boulder Burghardt-Spelt. Koivisto gets demoted to 11th. That's that battle done. So let's focus on Traingrade and Wright. We've seen these two battle a number of times. Stalwarts of the series. Ove, he is putting the pressure on here. Not backing off. Right up underneath him. Flying down. Oh, and he lifts.
Think Billy Bob got a bead of sweat going right about now, Joe?
Well, we know that Billy Bob definitely, he's down in Florida, and even though it's a little cooler being in winter, I'm sure that he's working it up inside that cockpit. White flag is out, which means these two are going to get 1.5 more laps to make it happen. But Mick Claridge is on his victory lap. So we watch defensive move by Billy Bob down into Boulder Burghardt-Spelt, so he's feeling under threat. Up at the front, Mick Claridge is well clear of everybody as he comes up to the Kleine chicane. Pretty much safe from threat. All he has to do is bring it home.
You stay with that. I'm going to stay with Billy Bob right here.
Yeah, break in if that starts to look like it's going to erupt once again, because through Turleman, we haven't shown a whole lot of Mick Claridge here today. We've caught glances of him since we've had time when there was no battles out on track. Through turn 8, up and over the crest towards Boulder Burghardt-Spelt. The car looking a little unsteady, actually. It's been wobbling back and forth a little. Now, one more corner to go for Mick Claridge. Down through Ix. Last chicane. Nice and tidy. He's still got that 5-second gap back to second. So Mick Claridge is going to take the win, 5 out of 6 for the Brit here in the Lotus 49 World Cup. Turkla takes second and Michelle third. Let's check in that battle.
Well, it's still going on here. Billy Bob trying to fend off Ove. Ove's taking a couple looks here. Done nothing too risky. He's running out of time, though, Joe. Here we go. Last chicane. Jackie Hicks, one more time.
No, he's setting him up for the exit. Maybe And I don't think he's got enough. Look at him squirm to get that power down. He's trying his heart out. But Ove does not have enough. He's going to have to settle for a single point here today. He's going to be ruined not getting a lap time in on qualifying, I'm sure. With that, I believe we are going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Now, quick mention of those technical issues. The stream's going to go off air, but we're not done. We're going to come back with the driver interview. So stick around here on the Global Sim Racing channel because you're going to see all the upcoming races on screen. And after that, we'll have the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Circuit Zolder. We just watched round 6, halfway part of the season for the Lotus 49 World Cup. And of course, Mick Claridge takes another win, 5 out of 6 now. He's looking like he is going to be well on his way to another easy crown. I think he's very determined to redeem himself from the poor season he had last time at the end of 2017. Rupe Turkala with a second place finish out there. Nice, steady, smooth race for him. And Michel Dunion cannot say the same, unfortunately. His own mistakes, as well as some driver contact, sent him back to third, even though he started on the pole. Enzo Canta managed to get himself a fourth. I'm sure he'd be a little bit disappointed, though, having started in third. And Neil Kemp, having started in sixth, well, he gets a top 5. Good day for the number 7. Benjamin Zoko finishes in 6th position with Billy Bob Wright in 7th, sweating his way to the line, holding off Ove Trangrade, who did not get a qualifying time and started 15th, finished in 8th for the final points-paying position. Roy Cunningham comes home in 9th, and Philip Spencer rounds out our top 10. Sean?
Down to 11th. It's going to be a tough race for Hideki Koivitso today. 12th, going to go to Richard Morin. Don, tell me something good comes from the back of the field. He'll finish 13th today. Randy Ho, 14th. 15th, going to go to David Monahan. Philip Clark, 16th. And 17th, going to go to David Alexander today.
Waiting in the wings, we have a couple drivers looking to talk to us. First up is fourth place finisher Enzo Canto. So let's pull him into the booth, talk to him about what looked like a potential podium at some points, but it just was not to be. Enzo, you got a whiff of third place so at some points in the race, but looked like Michelle was just a little too fast to hold back.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We do. We've got you. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear. Excuse me. Yeah, I was searching for a podium in this race too, because I really knew that the pace of Mick and Michel was unbelievable, and nothing I could do to stay with them. But I did a mistake in the first corner of the first laps, and I let I almost did a disaster, and I let pass Ruppe, and then I was watching at them, and they were all on the limits, and it seemed that one of them could suddenly go out of the race, so I was waiting. But in a moment, I don't know what happened, but Mick was almost off the track, and I was distracted by him, and then I did the big mistake, and Neil passed me. Then when I passed Michel, I was sure it was impossible to stay in front of him, and in fact, the first try to pass me, I let him to pass because he's very strong in the brakes, and in this track, as the last week at Veer West, the important thing is to stay alive, because every chicane is a potential kill weapon, and so the important thing is to go safely in the chicanes, not take slow down, and then I was hoping someone would die in the first three positions, but nothing did not happen, and I took the fourth place. But congratulations to Mick, Michel, and Ruppe, because they are very, very consistent and fast.
Yeah, I guess in that sense you can be satisfied knowing that you went as fast as your pace allowed. You mentioned distractions. Today, the big news, of course, is the 24 Hours of Daytona with iRacing here virtually. Are you taking part with a team after this race?
No, I will not take the part because I have not time. Absolutely, I have to work and to stay with my son. But I did one time 24 hour at Nürburgring, and we arrived second in the MX5 class with my team. I did 4 stints, and that time I was distracted for a while, and I almost destroyed the car, forcing my friends to drive all the 12 hours that was remaining to the end with the steering wheel to the right. So at Nürburgring, so they wanted to kill me, but my first problem is the distraction. This is a famous thing.
All right. Well, congratulations on getting a top 5 today with your 4th place, and hope to see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Next week I will not here because I will be with my girlfriend, because he will do 40 years old. So we have to do a little trip. So we surely see each other next 2 weeks.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her, and go enjoy a nice vacation.
Thank you so much.
That was Enzo Canto, 4th place finisher here today. And it looks like everybody else does have teams to get to, apparently, because we don't have any more interviews to do here today. Sean, before we go, thoughts on this race?
I'm going to stand by what I said when this race started. I really, really do like this track a lot. They need to keep it on the schedule. If we could fill the field with cars around here, I think we'd see an even more exciting race. I was very, very impressed with the start of this race. This is an easy track to screw up here in the opening lap, and the guys did a great job keeping it under control, and we had a great race all the way through.
I agree. I was impressed with how little incidents we saw in those chicanes, especially with how tough it is to race this car side by side. With that, we're going to thank a few people before we go. Of course, thanks to Jack Ulstad and Ben Zilko for doing what they can to organize and get this broadcast to air for another season. Thanks to companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, or we're also on Facebook, just at simply Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, they are going over to England once again, Snetterton for the 200 layout. That'll be Saturday, January 27th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I'm not going to be able to call that one. I'm going to be in the real Daytona, going and watching the real race out there. So Sean will be holding down the fort without me. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out or mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.